Welcome to the SigmaScience podcast. This week's esteemed guest, Owlbert. Yeah, thank you to the studio audience for showing up. Alright. Oh, right to action. Alright. Now, where is it? Let me see. Okay, laugh it up, laugh it up. Alright, here we are. Now, should I go alphabetically, chronologically, or storyally? Alright, let's start with the basics. Continental Drift Theory, as we know it today, states that there was once a supercontinent known as Pangaea. It has since split apart over millions and millions of years, bumping and jumping all across the world. They didn't? What? Okay, whatever. Anyway, Continental Drift Theory was for... Okay, let me get something very clear before we jump back in time to the 1500s. Theories are the most solid, proven thing in science. In regular speech, it's just like a wild thing. I just thought of a theory. But in science, it's like gravity is a theory, and you aren't floating in space right now, so clearly something's working. Get me? Okay. For the longest time, the theory was that the Earth just sort of sat there and the continents didn't really move at all. They just sort of sat there and stayed in the same spot. All the mountains formed from like it shrinking and being like a raisin or something. I don't really know. It's sort of less scientific, more just like I guess that's how the mountains got there. We're guessing, than like actually trying to prove it. But like you can't really expect much more because it was sort of the like 1200s. That sounds weird to say, but yeah, there's not really any reason to come up with some continental drifting thing when there's no evidence for it. So they just sort of thought that everything stayed as it was, which is fair. Yeah, exactly. Alright, first instance of actual continental drift theory similar ideas was from Abraham Ortelius, who said that Africa and South America fit together well. Too well. Well, not really, since he didn't really have any evidence or reason that they'd move. He was sort of just overlooked until the late 1900s when he was actually recognized as the first guy to come up with a similar idea. His work would be replicated by other people in the 17 and 1800s. No, they just came to the same conclusion differently. Yeah, alright. Next, Alfred Wegener, I don't know how to pronounce that, honestly, I'm sorry, dude, published his hypothesis in 1912 on continental drift theory. It was similar to what Abraham Ortelius was saying, but it had more evidence. Like a bunch of the same stuff matching on identical moved away chunks where you'd expect them to be, like fossils and plant remain, fossil things, and that sort of thing. Rock types. Yeah. Since his work was pretty widespread, he's credited as the first person to really uh, like have the idea that continental drift theory was a thing be recognized as an idea that even existed. Oh no, he did not popularize it. In his time, it was absolutely rejected. Although he had a lot of observational evidence, like things fitting together, and maybe some actual good, proper evidence, like fossils, it wasn't really enough, and there was no mechanism that would actually cause all the continents to move apart. He just sort of said that they did. It was only until recently, when seafloor spreading was proven, that his stuff was proven alongside it. We'll get to that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, back to the timeline. In 1928, Arthur Holmes proposed that the hot new mantle coming the crust, or that sort of thing, rose and the cool stuff fell, meaning that it would be all sort of pulled around in a circle, and that was also just causing them to move, basically just with convection currents. Well, this theory was pretty important because it was the first one that really had a mechanism to cause the movement of the continents and plates, I guess. Um, he had an actual possible mechanism that could be the case, but there wasn't really the technology to prove it, so it was sort of ignored, or at least not agreed with fully, or at all. Whatever, I got that. Yeah, and an example of a completely unsubstantiated claim that you're talking about would be like me saying that the Earth is growing in size, and it used to just be a ball of land, but then the land broke apart from getting stretched, and the water filled in the gaps between them. Yeah, no proof for the proof, if you will. Alright, alright, lightning round. After World War II, they had lots of sonar scanning of the bottom of the ocean, so they could see weird bumps and ridges and patterns that they didn't really know about beforehand. So now they had more evidence, but no one really made a theory out of it. Well, I mean, they can't exactly just teach random, potentially untrue, unfinished theories in schools without making sure that they're correct and accurate. Alright. Later, in 1962, Harry Hess proposed that the seafloor spreading stuff we were talking about earlier, yeah, it's volcanic activity under the ocean when the plates move apart, and the force of the new crust moves the plates and causes continental drifting. I mean, kinda, if you count it as lava-y stuff doing things. That can be a little confusing. the crust is the plates, and the new crust is the plates, and the plates are made of crust. So the stuff isn't just pushing the plates apart, the plates are growing in certain areas and pushing each other apart. Imagine it like a giant conveyor belt. The new hot crust gets formed and is lifted up because it's hot into the mid-oceanic ridges in between, and then this new crust goes over the ocean floor slowly over millions of years and eventually goes into subduction zones, and those are where the crust gets recycled for it to go again, I guess. Well, it's a few things, actually. It's a little bit from the heat of the Earth just giving energy to it. It's also the small force of the down slope from the mountain ridges, and gravity pulls it down, all of the crust down along them slowly over time. And then a big force is the anchor-like part of the crust that goes into the crevices and pulls the entire rest of the crust down with it. And all of that manages to make like a conveyor thing. It's not exactly a perpetual motion machine as much as it is a big, efficient battery. And the battery won't run out for a very long time, since it only moves stuff a few centimeters each year. But that does add up over millions. I guess you're right, actually. That's weird. Alright. Vine and Matthews realized that if the plates actually worked like that, then the ridges of rock should be the exact same or very symmetrical on both sides of the ridges. So they used magnetic strips and found that they were. Finally, real solid proof that the seafloor was on the move. It's only been a few minutes for you, buddy. Imagine how long they had to wait. Anyway, with all that evidence collected, and much more, scientists came up with the plate tectonics model, which is like the modern one. The surface of the Earth is broken up into a bunch of plates that move against each other, bump into each other, go over each other and under each other, causing earthquakes and volcanoes and mountains and all that stuff. All that cool stuff. The movement of them is powered by all the plates doing the conveyor thing we were talking about earlier, or at least a similar version of it. I'm sure it's a lot more complicated, but if we got into all of that, then we'd be here all day, because it's a lot more complex than I'm letting on. Yeah, it's not just the ocean with this one. They focus on all of the plates, not just the oceanic ones, and it's a lot more wide than just the ocean evidence they had before. Anyway, the reason this is all important is that even if, specifically, continents moving over millions of years doesn't really affect us in our daily lives, it's only a tiny little instance of science. And we use science for everything. Learning the history of it, of random things, helps us know how it works and how it will work in the future, helping us carve our path in the future of science. Well, I mean, the Earth didn't exactly change. It's always worked like this. the way we see it did, though. Or, yeah, thanks for coming. And viewers, come back never to see more episodes about history of science. Thanks for watching. Now we run. That's 8:31.